Hello everyone. In this video, we'll go over what are the different data types in Python. This is part 1 of the 4-part series about the different data types in Python. In this video, we'll go over about what is a variable. We'll just revise what we have learned in our first video, what is variable assignment and reassignment. And we'll go over some data types in Python, which are numeric data type, Boolean, string and sequential data types. Now these two data types will be covered in detail in the next videos. Now, what is a variable? It is basically a container or a placeholder where we can store our data at a particular location in the computer's memory. So a variable has two parts, a name and a value. So here we have a name, that is score, and value, that is 5. So variables can hold numbers, fractions, phrases, and all of these are different kinds of data. So it's like putting in an item in a box. So this variable is that box and it safely kept that item here. Now why do we have the different types of data? What is the need of it? Because computer requires different memory sizes for different kinds of data. So we should know what data we're working with. And different types of operations are performed differently on the types of data. We'll see this very shortly. Now moving on to the concept of variable assignment and reassignment. Now as you saw, basically a variable is like a bucket wherein you store your data. You assign a value to a variable. So this is that value or the data which is being assigned to this variable. That is country equal to USA. So USA is the data and country is the variable. Now what is reassignment? Now suppose if there was a variable which had a data which was a number kind of data, and it earlier had the value of 20. But now we want a different value, or this value has been updated. So this variable, the same variable will contain the updated value. So basically where we are replacing or updating our variable is called variable reassignment. So if we try to give different values to the same variable, the variable will retain only the latest values, and we cannot keep track of the old values. So reassigning variables will remove the old values and replace it with the new value assigned to it. Now the different data types in Python. These data types cannot be combined with each other without converting from one data type to the other. So there are certain inbuilt functions which help us achieve that. So for now, let's learn what are the different data types. So when you talk of text, like strings, for example, your name or some country's name. Then numeric data types like integer, that is maybe your roll number, something like that. Float is like your marks because it has a decimal portion. Then there are sequences, list, tuple, and range. Then mapping, that is a dictionary, a Boolean, which has only two states, true and false, and so on. Let's look at the numeric data type in detail for now. Integer, or the int for short, data type is used to store integers, again both positive and negative, but without decimals. So for example, your roll number, that cannot be in decimal or a fraction. And similarly, float is used to store numbers, both positive and negative, but with decimals. For instance, your marks, the temperature, etc. So let's have a look at them in this video. Let's learn about numeric data types in Python. Now here we have this value 4 and this variable called num, and we're assigning 4 to this num variable. Now let's see in print. This is 4. So any number which is like a whole number, but it can also be negative, is what is called an integer. So if you want to know the type, we have an inbuilt function called type, and we can print. So it says it belongs to this class int. Int stands for integer, and this is an inbuilt class which is there in Python. Now if there is another, if there's another variable, for example 0.5, now let's try and print num2. So it is printing 0.5. Let's comment this for a moment and let's try printing the type of the second variable that we've taken here, which is num2. So it says it belongs to class float. Now float is an inbuilt class in Python which provides you with the ability to put in numbers like these which have decimal values or decimal places. So these are floating point numbers. Now the second data type is the Boolean data type. So it can have only two values, that is either true or false. So they basically help you answer any yes or no questions. For example, whether today is sunny or not. So it can be true or false, but not both at the same time. And they're used to answer you yes or no questions and help you perform certain tests. For example, you are in a video game and you want to know whether you or the player for which you've built the game has certain special powers. So you would like to know whether they have used that power or not. So that is true or false. Whether they have that value, that they have that special power with them even now, that is true. Or if they don't have it, that is false. So that is what we have written here in the code as well. That there is a variable named weapon. For example, you have a special weapon and it is true, that is you haven't used it as of yet. And if you still have it, then it means you still have your special powers. Else, you've used it and you do not have your special powers. Let's understand more in this video. Now this is an example of how do we use a Boolean data type. Now Boolean data type is a data type which tells you, which lets you know if a value is either true or false. And it can only be either of these. For example, today is a rainy day or today is not a rainy day. A day cannot be rainy and sunny both, right? It has to be either one. So when we get such values, we refer to them as Boolean values. They can have only two states. They can shift gears like, a day. So a day is a Boolean variable if we say that, a day is sunny, so it is true or it is not true. So it can switch states. So if it rains today, it is not sunny. So it is no, sunny is false here, right? And if today is sunny, then sunny is true here. So similarly, it is this Boolean data type finds its use in a lot of things. For example, you are playing a game and you have some special powers in the game and you are yet to use them. So if your weapon, suppose there's a special weapon or power that you have, is true. So if we say weapon, so here we check if weapon is true, we print that we still have some special power, else we have lost our powers. So right now in the game, we still have our powers. So we get this message, we deliver this message out to the user that you still have got special powers. But in the case, suppose we have already used it, we'll change the weapon and we'll turn its value to false. That, this is something special and a one-time use only. So we've already used it. So it says no special powers because the weapon is now false. So it doesn't cater to this condition. And we come here and it says, you've lost all your powers. So that is how Boolean variables are used. We learn about them in our later series as well. Now let's go over the string data type or short form for str. Now strings are the variables used to represent text, that is someone's name. They are a sequence of characters basically, and character is a symbol. That is, the English language can have 26 characters. Apart from that, characters can be numbers, they can be special characters like @ or the asterisk or hash or pound, any other. Computers do not deal with characters, they only know the numbers. zeros and ones. So characters can be stored inside the computer in the form of binary digits 0 and 1. Now strings can be created by enclosing the characters inside a single quote or a double quote. So single quotes and double quotes are equivalent in Python, but this may not be the same for other languages. So here for strings, we have this variable1, which is equal to hello world. That is, we are assigning hello world to this variable1. So whatever is there on the right hand side gets assigned to the left hand side. And similarly, this second variable contains the string Python programming. We'll look at strings in more detail in the upcoming videos. Now let's have a look at what are sequential data types. Now there are four kinds of sequential data types: a list, a tuple, a set, and a dictionary. Now a list is basically a collection which is ordered and changeable, and it allows duplicate members. That is, it is just like your grocery list. You can order it according to yourself and you can add and remove items from it. And when you buy something which has quantity greater than 1, so that means it allows duplicate members. Then tuple is a collection which is ordered but unchangeable. That is, there is some kind of a sequence that is followed, but we cannot add or remove values directly. And it does allow duplicate members. Now then there is a set which is both unordered and unindexed. That is, there is no particular sequence that is followed, and it is unordered as well, and it does not allow duplicate members. For example, if you go to the bank and if everybody has a different key, so it allows only one kind of entries. That is, it will have your bank key will have your name only, your account will have your name only, and that is unindexed or unordered. Then there's a dictionary, which is unordered but changeable and indexed, and there are no duplicate members. So basically it has something called a key value pair, and we insert keys and values, or this in combination is called an item. So there cannot be duplicate keys, and this is very much the same as a normal English dictionary, which has the words and meanings. So a dictionary in Python has keys and corresponding values. Again, we'll have a look at all of these data types in a separate video because this requires some more detail. Coming to the end of this video, we have this table which lets you know various examples of the different data types. So an integer can be 3, 300, 200, even the negative numbers as we saw. Then float can have decimal points and also in negatives. Then a string has a sequence of characters. That is someone's name, maybe a message, maybe a year, number, special characters, any other language characters, anything. Then lists can have a sequence of objects, again numeric, strings, float, and a list can also contain another list. Then dictionaries is what is there as a key and there is a corresponding value. For example, there's a name and you're storing the name value corresponding to it. Then tuple is something which is ordered. Immutable means that it cannot be changed. Then set is again a collection of unique objects, and Booleans is, as we saw, can have only two states, true and false. So guys, this is the end of the first video. Please do have a look at the other videos which are a part of this series as well.